you can't. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You can. Okay, good. Katie, look at you over there in Hogwarts. That's so good. The last time we Zoomed, you were in the hall in Hogwarts.
I was in the Great Hall, but I moved to outdoors because, as you can see, it's a sunny day at Hogwarts.
It's beautiful here too, but I'm not in Hogwarts. I wouldn't know.
That's unfortunate for you. I'm very sorry.
I know, I'm sorry. Well, hey everyone. People are joining in. We're going to get started in just like 30 seconds. Ooh, Hartford, Connecticut, area magnet schools. I'm in Connecticut. Are you from Crack? I used to work for Crack. Alicia, all the way from Singapore. I'm super excited. Yes. I used to have a business in Singapore, a consulting firm in Singapore, and Alicia used to work for me there, and now she's teaching. And it's 6:30 in the morning for her. So good for you. All right, we're gonna get started. Katie, I counted this morning. This is number 15, girl. Tomorrow is 16. Tomorrow is the last one forever. Yes. So we purposely made these last two a lot smaller. So if you got a spot, I'm very excited. We really wanted to make sure the last couple were, personalized and that it was just not so hard. So we're excited that you're here. I'm Carrie Lipoli. I have been an educator for 24 years. Oh wait, hang on, Katie. Let's see if I'm recording. I am, right?
It says recording.
Yep. Okay, good. All right. So I've been an educator for 24. What?
Did you hit record?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
I've been an educator for 24 years. I've been a consultant for the last 13. And in the last 5 years, I've had a lot of experience with the Zoom platform. I've been coaching teachers and principals in person and virtually through Zoom for years. I even real-time coach teachers. I do this in person, but I also do it over Zoom, where I coach them in the moment while they're teaching. I am an instructor for Teach Now, which is an international teacher prep university, and we exclusively use Zoom for our lessons. I am also a certified nutrition coach, and I have a robust online business around nutrition, and I use Zoom for many aspects of my online coaching business. In addition, I have, in my kind of educational career, especially in the last 6 years, developed very specific protocols for coaching teachers on high leverage instructional strategies. I want to make sure all kids are learning, and these strategies do that. So what I did is I found a way in this training to integrate the online learning with very high leverage instructional strategies. And it was funny because as all this was going down about 3 weeks ago, my teacher friends from all over the world, even my dad, who's a superintendent, was like, can you show us how to use Zoom so it works and stuff? So I put together a little training. I called Katie, who's a friend of mine in education. She's in education. She's a communications expert as well. She's a beast. She's amazing. You won't believe how fast she's able to answer questions. She's nodding because she knows she's amazing. Anyway, my dad was like, I need help, and my friends. And so I called Katie and I said, let's put together a little training for people. And don't you guys know, 14,000 teachers tried to get into these trainings. And I was like, it was like the magic of the Facebook. And so we thought we were going to just do one for some friends. And so 15 later, tomorrow's our last one. We are tired, but we feel super humbled and very, very happy that we've been able to not only be able to help you guys out, but to get such good feedback to say that, to see what you're doing in classrooms now with this information. This is very different than just a regular Zoom training. This really allows you to think about instruction in a way that simulates, or even in some ways makes it better than the classroom. So let's move. Oh, look, I forgot, Katie, I put a picture of us. Katie and I were in Alabama, I think, in this picture, right? And last summer we were consulting and we were together. So she's in Pittsburgh, I'm in Connecticut, but we literally talk every day on Zoom. Okay, so let's get going with a few housekeeping needs. Katie's already told you this. I'm gonna have you stay muted, and I would love for you to keep your camera on. So I have you stay muted because there's a ton of background noise when we all keep our microphones on, which if you've done Zoom calls at all, you've realized that up to this point, right? And so we don't want to mute kids, but I will say we can, which is not something we can normally do in the classroom. So I'm also gonna have you turn your camera on if you can, because I'm gonna model some really great instructional strategies, and I'm gonna need to see your faces, and you're gonna experience it like a student. So I want you to be able to kind of get on board with that too, if you can. So what I'd love for you to do is get a notebook if you can take notes. If not, don't worry about it, because Katie said we're recording this. We are. But here's the thing. My husband says I always try to fit 10 pounds of you-know-what in a 5-pound bag. Alicia knows my husband. She knows that that's true. And that is true for today. So I'm going to go fast. I'm going to show you a lot. So I want you to engage and take down as much as you can. But also, if this is like, if technology is kind of new for you, I need you to know I'm going to go fast. I've done this webinar now 14 times, and every single time I am told you got to slow down. I know, but I'm not going to, because I have 10 pounds of you-know-what to fit in a 5-pound bag. I want to get done in an hour. And so if this is like overwhelming for you in terms of speed, I don't want you to check out. I don't want you to stress out. And I don't even want you to write anything down. I just want you to sit back like you are binge watching your favorite Netflix show, whatever it is. Tiger King. I haven't watched that, but I hear it's really good. No, that's not it. Okay. So pretend you're watching something like that. And then you can go back and you can rewatch it, or you know, watch it with a friend or something over Zoom, because you'll be able to catch up. But I just want you to know what's possible and what you can do. Okay. Don't let the stress of the speed get to you, and you're going to get a ton out of this. Okay. So just keep in mind, the other thing is that there are teachers from all over the world. So they're teaching pre-K to high school. I'm going to teach you strategies that are going to work for every grade level. But naturally, you're going to have to figure out how it's going to work for you. I'm also going to tell you how you can connect with me and Katie afterwards for further support, so we can answer questions and that kind of thing, and help you integrate this into your practice. But just keep in mind that you'll, this is going to be kind of for everybody. All right, you're going to put your questions in the chat. Katie, like I said, is a beast, and so she will be able to answer your questions as quickly as she can. There probably aren't that many questions we haven't had yet, right, Kate? Don't you think? So let's keep going. I will talk about, we're going to go through our agenda, and the number one question people have had lately is, are you going to talk about security? Yes, I promise I will talk about security. Okay, so don't worry. But let's go over our goal first. So our goal, like a good teacher, I have a goal for you guys. As a result of this training on Zoom, you will be familiar with various ways that you can use it to engage all of your students. It's a shame that I'm hearing that some districts are saying that they can't use it. It's only because they don't know how to use it. But it is a very powerful platform. So we're going to talk about why Zoom. And if your district says no, I think you should advocate. I really do. Okay. I also think a lot of people don't know what they're doing with all of this, and you guys will know, so you can advocate. We're going to do a quick tour of Zoom. I'm going to show you about setting norms and expectations. This is regardless of whether you're using Zoom or any platform. Just like you start your school year off, we're going to have to make sure you're starting off your online learning year strong too. And we're going to talk about effective instructional strategies. So let's keep going. All right, so I can see all of you. Zoom just actually had an update. I'm sharing my screen, but the newest update is I can also see all of you while I'm sharing my screen. This is new, like literally 4 days ago. So this is cool. I usually have to stop sharing my screen to do this, but now I don't have to. And you guys are going to get, like, seriously, practice makes perfect, right? You guys you're going to get a good training this time, because I've worked out all the kinks. Okay, if this is your very first time using Zoom, give me a number 1 and hold it up. If you have done this before, if you've been on Zoom before, just give me a shoulder brush. Be like, Carrie, I am old hat at this. Jenny has done this. All right. Alicia's done this. Mary Kay, this is your first time. Amy, you've done this. The more and more we do this, we can say Christina's done this too. Okay, good. The more and more we do this, you can tell more and more people give me shoulder shrugs. The first few sessions, it was like everybody had a 1-up. Okay. So the reason why I'm telling you that though is, or I asked you that, is because even for those of you that it was your first time, right? You got on. You didn't have any problem. You were here on time. It's really simple to use. But it's not just simple for you. It's also, well, simple for participants. It's also simple for you as the host. Okay? Because and unlike other platforms, you're really easily able to use it on tablets, on iPhones, on Chromebooks. And it allows for some really creative uses that simulate a classroom. It's a lot of the other ones make kids teach themselves, right? You send them off into something and they have to teach themselves, and then you can engage with them somehow after. This is a way we could actually teach like it's a classroom. Okay. But let me clarify quick what I mean by host and participant. So I am the host. I am running this meeting, and therefore I have access to certain options that you're not going to see and you're not going to have because you're the participant. So as the teacher, you're going to be the host and your students will be participants. But I'm showing you what I'm doing with screenshots, but don't worry that you don't see the same options on your screen, because remember, you're experiencing this like a student. Think of me of having the teacher manual with all the extra on the side, on the margins, and you guys have the student book, the student textbook. Okay, so don't stress that you don't see it, but I am going to show you as much as I can, and we're going to send you all sorts of information. But speaking of the information that we're going to send you, one of the cool things about Zoom right now is that they are giving the upgraded version to teachers for free. So that's awesome because you can do some more things on that you can't do in the free version. So what I'm going to do is show you right now how you can use chat. Katie's going to send you the link of how you can get it for free. If you're watching me like a Netflix show, don't even touch it. Don't worry. But if you can open it up, then just minimize it, because I don't want to dig into it now, but that's how you're going to upgrade for free. We're going to send it to you later though, too. I also found some great tricks and tips for educators to use from Zoom. Zoom trainings aren't going to teach you how to teach really well. That's what we're going to do. But they will teach you how to like technically do some things. So Katie's throwing that in the chat too. Again, if you can handle opening it, great. But what I really want to do is show you how you can send things to kids. You can send links. You can send documents like a PDF. So that's a really great way to like pass out papers. Okay. So you can also, I want to show you how I schedule a meeting, okay? Because it's really simple. This is my Zoom settings. And so all I do is go into meetings and look, you just click schedule a new meeting. That's literally all you have to do. It's very simple. We'll talk about some settings that you'll want to set up later, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. So now I want to tell you about recording. So we're recording this, right? So we can send it to you later. And it's very simple to do that. This is what my screen looks like at the bottom right now. Your screen doesn't look like this because remember, I have the teacher manual. And right here on record, I can record this to my computer or I can record it to the cloud. So let me explain what that means. So the cloud is like this invisible kind of space in the sky. I don't know where it is actually. And Zoom has part of the cloud. And they give you part of the cloud for free if you have the upgraded version. Now, not if you have the free version. That's why you want to upgrade. And the reason why that is great is because if you're working on a Chromebook or if you're working on a laptop, a tablet or an iPad, you can't save to the computer because there's no computer to save it to. You have to save it to the cloud. And then after you save it to the cloud, you can go to recordings and go grab it. You just click on the one that you'd had and you download it. And then like what I'm going to do right after we're done, I will download this, I will upload it to YouTube, and then I will share that link with you. And I upload it as an unlisted video. So that's all you have to do. But let's talk about why you would record your class. Now, there are some obvious reasons, right? Like just to have it, and maybe somebody didn't show up, you could send it to them. But I also want you to think a little bit outside of the box with this. So think about you teaching a lesson, right? And then think about a year from now when you are teaching these lessons again. You are now going to have a video library of lessons that you have taught to these kids. You could use them in centers. You could use them in workstations. Kids are absent. You can send them the video. Now, you may have kids that can't log in or can't do the Zoom call with you. So make sure you send it to them, you know, if they miss it, which will be really important. But you can also save these for years to come. Now, how about this? You can do a Zoom call with no students, with no participants. You can do one all by yourself. So think about the fact that you can develop like a Khan Academy for your classroom right now, forever. You can record a class. I just shared my screen. I'm going to show you how to do all sorts of cool things. You can record all of it with nobody on and then literally have mini lessons recorded forever. You think about subplans. You could literally be teaching your class with a video that you've made with this as your subplans. You could also make sub-plans for your substitute. You could literally like show her around the room, show her what you're gonna do, show her where the lesson plans are, and send her that link. You can do things in so many ways because you can record now anything you want all by yourself. And then you have the power to do whatever you want with it. So I just want you to be thinking really outside of the box with it. I also said to you, like, a lot of my two kids are getting a lot of assignments, but teachers aren't teaching. They're using Zoom calls to say, hey, does everybody understand? But if you wanted to record a lesson and then send it to them, you could do that now too. So just be creative with all of this, okay? All right, let's keep going. 10 pounds, 5 pound back. I feel like I'm running a marathon. All right, Zoom tour. We're gonna go a little bit on the tour. So we talked a little bit about the chat, right? So I noticed that a lot of you seem to know how to use the chat. That is good. You can send messages to an individual person or you can send it to everyone. So I love that in so many ways because you can send a private message to your students or they can send you a private message. And I want you to think about this. I have a 15-year-old that I don't think has ever spoken out in class ever. She's really shy. She has some anxiety around doing that. She's never done that. A couple days ago, I was watching her Zoom call and she was asking questions in the chat to her teacher. She's never done that before. Ever. She doesn't even like to stay after school to ask her teacher the questions. So this can give kids a voice. You can turn it off so they can't private message you, but I love that. And I also love the ability to private message somebody and be like, hey, Katie, you're looking a little distracted right now. Everything okay? And nobody else can hear it, okay? So I love that. I want you right now, though, to send me a private message and tell me how you heard about our training. The magic of the Facebook seems to be what's been happening lately, but go ahead and try to send me a private message with how you heard about us, okay? See if you can figure it out. Oh, Christine did it. She heard about us on Facebook. Elena, awesome. Okay, Lisa and Jenny and Katie and Kathy and Ann. Oh, nice job. Okay, also, oh, Carrie and Carrie. Carrie, you spell your name the right way too. And Mary Kay, oh, you're one of my Fitness for Teacher group people. That's awesome. All right, keep going, keep telling me, but I'm gonna keep moving, okay? All right, so that's a cool feature. I just want you to think about that. Also, let's dig into a little bit around the gallery view because I think this is a cool feature that I want you to be able to see. So I just said to you, they upgraded this. So I actually was able to see many of you when I was sharing my screen, but I can see more of you when I'm not sharing my screen. So I'm not sharing my screen now. I just click stop share. And on the upper right-hand corner, see if you can find gallery view. It will either say speaker view or gallery view. Gallery view, if you're on a computer, you can see like 25 people at a time if you make it big. Give me a thumbs up if you can see gallery view. Anne is there and Alicia can see it. Mary Kay and Jenny, Carrie, Kathy, Katie, Amy. Hang on. I got pages of you here. Okay. All right, good. If you can't see it, don't stress. Remember, you're just watching a Netflix show. We can deal with that later. But this way, I can see my whole class. And I just did a quick check for understanding, right? And I could see who was getting in or who wasn't. I could quickly go in and send a private message to somebody or just bring up the fact that somebody's not understanding something. So I think that's cool. I think it's really cool. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so here's the mute feature. Remember, we can mute, you can mute yourself, but you can mute all. So I actually set it up so that everybody was muted upon arrival and you can't unmute yourself. Remember I said there are some things that are even better than the classroom? You can't mute your kids like this. I'm just kidding because I don't believe that kids should be muted. Let's be very clear about that. I believe that they all should have a voice. But I do think sometimes it's nice to be able to have a mute button. It's like the easy button, right? So you have that here, okay? So that's important. But it's easy to do, and you'll be able to truly figure that out. I want you to be able to just kind of know where that is. Now, the thing is, students are going to be muted, so they need to be able to get in touch with you. They can private chat you, but they can also raise their hand. So I want you to try to find that feature now. Look for participants, and then click raise hand. Katrina, you look like you're in Venice. Katie raised her hand, and Stephanie, Antoinette, and Anne, Mary Kay, Marty, Sandra. Yes, nice job, you guys. See, super easy, right? Amy and Denise. Now, lower your hands. That's something else, you know, I can actually lower all your hands for you if I want to. You know how you can't do that in a classroom, right? Sometimes you're just like, put down your hands. I can do that. But I'm going to ask you to put down your hands. See if you can lower your hands now, okay? All right. So I'm going to show you how I'm sharing my screen. So right now I have this as like, this is what it looks like for me at the bottom of my screen. And when I click share, this white box literally pops up in front of me. That's how easy it is. And I can share whatever I have open on my desktop. Okay. And it looks similar to like this if you're using an iPad or an iPhone. So I have 2 desktops. So that's why you're seeing that here. But basically I can share anything that's already open. So now let me show you something when it comes to that, something to be aware of. So now I'm going to share my screen and it's that white box just popped up and I'm going to share my desktop. Okay. So I'm going to X out of the PowerPoint right there. So you can see my desktop now. Can you guys all see this? Now, here's the thing. When I click share desktop, look at this. You can see my whole desktop. You can see my email. You can see every messy thing I have. You can see, look at, you want to see my girls? You can see my 2 teenage girls. You can see it all. So that may be something you want. So maybe you want to show a couple things on your screen like this, and then you want to show like a timer up here, or maybe you have Class Dojo and you want to keep Class Dojo up here. That's fine. I think this is a way that you're going to show multiple things on your screen. You can even open up a folder and share, you know, let kids see how you're navigating into a document. Now, that may or may not be what you want, but you need to know that this is the option. This is an option because you might not realize you're sharing your whole screen. And then they might see emails or chats or something. Trust me, I've been in many meetings where chats have come through that they did not want us to see. So let me share with you how you make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to stop sharing. And now I am going to share again, but I'm going to share just my PowerPoint. So now you are just seeing my PowerPoint. That was one of the many items on my desktop. I know I am sharing just my PowerPoint because I have a green highlight all the way around it. And so because I have that, I know that I am only sharing that with you. You have to have it already opened on your screen in order to share it. So if you don't see it on the white box, it's only probably because it's not actually on your desktop, okay? So I'm gonna stop sharing. Now what I'm gonna do again is I'm gonna share my second desktop. So just bear with me for a second. It just takes me a second to get it back up. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about security. There's been a lot in the news lately about Zoom bombing and how random people have been coming into Zoom rooms and like throwing porn or up on the screen or having curse words. So this is what I have to say about that. Would you guys ever start on the very first day of school with your students and never have ever been in your classroom before? You would know, right? You would set up your classroom first. You would make sure that it's all neat and tidy and has all their kids' names on it and all that kind of stuff. Well, you can't not go into your Zoom room and set things up, okay? So you want to make sure you set up certain settings. Now, as of the other day, Zoom now defaults to pretty much the highest security you can have. Before, they were defaulting to open room. Like basically you left your door unlocked and anybody could come in. So if you had all of the Zoom hackers really were because they put their Zoom link in a public place and never closed the door or never locked it down. So if you put your link in a public place, anybody could get it. But there's still things that you can do. So this is one of the things we did. After a few minutes, Katie locked the meeting. So right where you guys were able to raise your hand, down in the bottom right, I have the option to lock the meeting. So does Katie. Katie's like my co-teacher. She's called the co-host. And I named her the co-host when she got into the meeting. I could just hover over her name and click make co-host. So she locked the meeting. So now nobody else can get in. So once I know all my students are in, it's like locking your door, okay? Also, when you are in Zoom, you're going to go to settings. Remember, I showed you this before. And this is where it scrolls forever. It is like going to the Chinese takeout restaurant and seeing all the things that you could have to eat. There's so many. So you're going to want to go through this and see what do you want to use. You can enable a waiting room. In fact, it defaults to a waiting room. So everybody sits in a waiting room and then you can let them in one by one. It will automatically do a password. I password protected this. I have though join before host disabled. So nobody can get into my classroom until I was there first. So very, very simple to do, but you just want to make sure you're getting into your classroom before your kids do. So you can set it up for them, okay? So there are zero security issues with Zoom if you just do this part right. And now they've actually made it even easier for you. So please, you guys, I actually really want us to be advocates because I'm going to tell you right now, I have talked to so many principals and superintendents over these past few weeks, and nobody knows what the heck they're doing. Everybody is figuring this out at the same time you are. So when there is a broad blanket statement like, we're not using Zoom anymore, it's out of fear. It's because people don't know. And if you know, you have a right and a responsibility to educate, okay? Because our kids deserve the best. And even though we all don't know what we're doing, we can work collaboratively together and make sure we do. All right, so one thing I always do before I start my classrooms is set norms and expectations. But norms are like what your rules would be, right? You would do this in your regular classroom. So make sure you're doing this in your online classroom as well. Norms are things that will always be true throughout every class, every day. Norms should relate directly to the culture that you want in your classroom and should be positive, okay? So you wouldn't have a norm of always raise your hand in the regular classroom because that's not always true. Let's be honest, you don't always have kids raise their hands. So let's think bigger picture. What do you want to be true for your classroom? So I just brainstormed a few for you. I want you, this is your classroom and what you should be doing, but one of them is engaging fully. You'd be surprised at how many kids just don't know what it means to engage online. They don't. So you need to tell them, what does it look like, sound like, feel like? What distractions need to be turned off? I want them to assume the best in each other and the best in you. I want you to assume the best in them as well. So if they show up late, if they don't show up at all, any of those things, if they're distracted, let's just assume that we're all trying to figure this out, right? Assume the best in your administrators too, you guys. When I tell you they don't know what they're doing, I promise you they don't. So be a team member, work with them, and assume that they're all trying their best. I love the idea of remaining curious and finding the joy in learning. This is hard, you guys. We all have, all of us, and I love that we have people from all over the world in this because every single person, no matter where we are, have been handed a whole big bushel of lemons, right? And so we have to figure out how we can remain curious and how we're going to find the joy in learning in this way that none of us are totally comfortable with. So set that as a norm. Asking questions, embracing mistakes because they make our brain stretch. And you guys, this is such an opportunity for you to model that growth mindset to them too. You can say, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. So I'm going to make mistakes. I know teachers that have just ended the meeting accidentally or forgot to record or, just did things and they couldn't figure out why and how they did it and they made mistakes. But that makes our brain stretch. So embrace that. I like the norm of keeping your video on. I think body language and our communication is all about not as much what we say, but how we say it. So body language is 70% of it. Now, there are equity issues when it comes to keeping your video on. Also, I will tell you that if you have your photo and video released, that's fine. So don't let people get all freaked out about all these things around it. We don't need to complicate this more than we are, more than we have to. But think about equity. So I have taught before in a district that had very, very, very high socioeconomic status students and some that lived, that had free and reduced lunch and lived in poverty. So we're going to see kids' houses with this. So one of the things that I think you might need to think about is where do you want them to situate themselves? Maybe behind a blank wall. Maybe they can decorate their wall. But I want you to be thinking about equity when it comes to this if they're putting their videos on. They need to know how to get in touch with you. So if you need me privately, send a private message on the chat or however that's going to be, especially if you're muting them and they can't unmute themselves. I didn't realize this at first, but we have to do these things. Eat breakfast, get dressed. My daughters on the very first day of school, both of them literally woke up 3 minutes before school started. And I didn't realize I needed to tell them. And so we do. So the school actually, this must have happened with multiple kids because the school sent a checklist of all the things you have to do, which sounds like obvious, but there's this world, we've had to adapt in so many ways with these new changes. It's important that we tell them. these kinds of things, because this isn't as obvious as we think it is. Okay, so setting expectations. So expectations are clear and precise directions for every activity. This is going to change depending on what you're doing. So just think about this as not a norm, but what are kids supposed to do with their bodies, their brains, and their mouths? You can script these out, and what's beautiful is that you can have the script in front of you while you're teaching. I have a script in front of me right now while I'm teaching. And you can't do that in the regular classroom, but you won't forget anything because you can write it all down. So think about like in pre-K or kindergarten, if they're doing a dance party, you got to tell them how they're going to stand up, that they're going to have to be in the view of the camera, things like that. I also want you to think about incentives and accountability. So because you can send private messages to students, you can encourage them, but you can also kind of like give them a little nudge. I notice that you're not paying attention right now. Come on, buddy, you can do this. Your learning is too important. If you have Class Dojo, you can continue to use that as well. But I am a believer, whether we're online or not, in 100%. 100% of students need to be learning 100% of the time. That should always be our goal. Think about a doctor. You would never want a doctor to say, yeah, 80% of my patients getting better is my goal. You wouldn't never go to that doctor, would you? So as teachers, we really have to. We have a responsibility to say 100% learning 100% of the time is my goal. Now, you're going to be working on that until the day you retire, right? But it's always what we're striving for. And so, especially online when that's hard, find ways to incentivize that and celebrate that, because it's hard to get 100%. So every time you get 100%, give them a class point. I say just make it simple. Put it on a piece of paper with a tally. I have kindergarten teachers that use Mr. Potato Head, and every time they get a class point, they put a little piece of Mr. Potato Head on. But let's say when they get a certain number, maybe 10, then they get some sort of class incentive. We had a teacher that had all the parents have a special snack ready for them. So when they got their class reward, they could all go to the pantry and find their special snack. Or you could watch a YouTube video. Or you could give them a tour of your house if you wanted to. Maybe. I don't know. But let's do this. I want to hear ideas from you. What are some incentive ideas that you're thinking about? Put it in the chat to everyone. Because I only think of a few, but you guys are way smarter than me. And collectively, we can come up with more than individually. So put in the chat to everyone ideas you're having right now about how you can incentivize your kids if they earn class points. Go. I want to see them coming. I know you guys have ideas out there. A go-doodle. Yes, that's a good idea. Yep, a sing-along or a freeze dance party. We had a middle school teacher do a TikTok with their kids. I don't even know how you would do that, but apparently they can figure that out. Yeah, a pet with your kids, a group movie, a video time. Yep, verbal praise in the moment. I think all of that's great, but celebrate it, and you're always looking for it, right? And it also tells us any of those kids that might challenge you more than others or has a harder time staying engaged, that you matter too, because all of you had to be doing this in order to get that point. And so it's a really great message you're sending to everyone. Okay. All right, let's go. Ooh, whiteboard. This is one of my favorites. So all I did was click to show you this. You just click share screen again, and then you can see that my desktop is here and the different things I could share. Look at me, deep in thought. But there's also a whiteboard here. So I'm going to show you a few cool things that you can be thinking about with the whiteboard. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I am going to share my screen again, and I am going to, the white box pops up, and I'm going to click whiteboard. So now you are seeing my whiteboard on the screen, right? And so what I can do with the whiteboard, I'm using my mouse, so it's going to look a little funky, but look, I can write on it. I can change colors. Let's make it orange. I can draw. I can make stamps. Your kids can too. I've turned this off because I learned my lesson in the first few trainings, not to give you the power to do this. You can do text and type. And the cool thing is you can save the whiteboard right to your computer or right to your photos if you're on a tablet. So that's a cool feature where you can be using it like a smartboard. You can also share your screen, and this whiteboard is basically annotating, right? You can annotate right over a worksheet. So if you're used to like projecting a worksheet up or even a book and you're highlighting words or anything like that, you can use the whiteboard to do that. Now, here's the thing. I don't like using the mouse for this because it's wonky. It doesn't look right, and it's hard to write with the mouse. So I'm going to show you a little workaround. So I am in this room that you're all in on my iPad. Look, it's like multiple carries here. So I entered the room. I am not signed in on this computer because I couldn't be signed in both places. I just have the Zoom app here. I never had to log in. You don't have to log in to get in. So I didn't have to log in. I was just able to get in the room, right? And now I can use this as part of my teaching. So what I'm gonna do right now, I turned off, remember my iPad is a participant just like you guys are. I turned off the ability for participants to use the whiteboard or share your screen because I learned my lesson the hard way. I'm going to have to make you all have permission. So hands off your mouse, your mice, because I don't want you sharing your screen. All right, so I just gave permission. Now, just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to click the screen and I'm gonna go share screen. Now I have this white box and I go whiteboard. Bam, whiteboard just came up. Now I'm on my computer and I'm on my iPad, and now I have my Apple Pencil, and now I can write like it's just a regular whiteboard. So I can annotate a lot easier on a shared screen, or I can save this. What I love about this is a strategy of anchor charts. Anchor charts are when you might kind of give hints, or you're giving resources to students and we hang them up around the room and then they reference those when they're working independently or in groups. Now you could do an anchor chart and send it to all of them, and they can have their own pocket anchor charts right there ready for them. But there's lots of things that you can do with the whiteboard. Now, I recognize that I have an Apple Pencil. So one of the things I think you all should do is tell your principals that you need an Apple Pencil. Put it in the budget. That's a good idea, right? I don't think it would go. When I was a principal, that wouldn't have gone very well with me. But I found a workaround for you in a couple of ways. So I want to share that with you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So what we found was a cool option. Now, if you have a stylus, you can just use your stylus. You know what I mean? Like if you have a stylus for your phone or for your tablet, you can use that. But what you can do is, hang on, I'm behind my screens. We found this. Now, most of these are like $100 or $200. We found one for $35. It plugs right into the USB of your computer. And this is a tablet and a pen, and then you can use this for your whiteboard. So it's a much cheaper version of this. Every time we share it, well, not every time, it's almost every time it's been getting sold out a lot, but I checked today and it was still in stock. So hopefully it is for you. This is an amazing way that you can use the whiteboard. So what I want to hear from you in the chat though right now is, what are you thinking about for the whiteboard? What are you going to do? What are ways that you're thinking you could use the whiteboard, and share it with everyone, because I like ideas. So go. What are you thinking about? How are you thinking you're going to use this in your class? Yes, Carrie, that's totally true. Yep. Or a stylus pen. If you have an older iPad and a stylus works, you can use that too. And that may be cheaper than the $35 option too. Yeah, seeing student misconceptions in math. Now, they can write on this with you too if you give them permission to do that, right? Math problems, I definitely think math is great for that. But breaking up, think anytime you would use a smartboard, right? You can use this for that. So think about like annotating and all of that. So that's very cool. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, now there is a workaround in this that I've come up with for you. You know where you guys raised your hand? Go back there, because there's some other nonverbal features that I'd love for you to be able to see, and you can answer this question I have. So remember, you're muted, so you can't tell me this verbally, but you can tell me non-verbally a yes or a no answer. So tell me yes or no, do you know Google Docs? Give me a yes if you do and no if you don't. Okay, this is usually the response I get. Most people know Google Docs. If you don't, most people in your school will know it. So you could just turn to the person next to you basically in school and say, okay, show me Google Docs. So I want you to think about this for Google Docs. I showed you on the whiteboard that you can type. The problem is I find that using the whiteboard, if you don't have a mouse, if you only have a mouse, is really wonky. It just doesn't work that well. So I say you can pull up a Google Doc, share your screen, type on the Google Doc, share the URL with your kids, then they can open up and you guys can write together. You could do like a joint writing activity together. just sort of as a workaround if you don't have a mouse, if you have to use a mouse, because it really is hard to use for that. Okay, so now breakout rooms are the coolest thing that Zoom has. This is what really makes it stand out from everyone else. So you can do small groups, you can do partner work, you can make groups random, or you can make them planned. You could put certain kids in certain rooms. If you have a co-teacher or a teacher assistant, you could put them in a room with a group of kids, and then you can be in a room with a group of kids. You can jump around to all the rooms. They can communicate with you. They say, hey, I need help over here. You can also do a broadcast to all the rooms so that everybody gets the same message. You can even put students in their own rooms, and you can do one-on-one conferencing with them, which is super cool. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, putting kids into breakout rooms takes a whole another set of those planned expectations that I was talking about. So just be prepared for that. All right, so let's talk about what that looks like. So this is my screen here. This is my friend Jackie, and there's Katie. We are in a room. All we have to do is click breakout rooms here. And when we do, this little box pops up and it tells us how many people are here, how many rooms we want to divide it into, and then it does the math for us. So it literally tells us how many kids would be in each room if we want to. So you could have 1, 2, 3, whatever you want, okay? And then you click create breakout rooms. It's that easy. And then you'll get a list of all the kids and where they are, and you can literally just drag and drop them to different rooms if you want to. So you set up your breakout rooms though in settings. Many people are like, I don't have breakout rooms. You can have it with the free account or the paid account, the upgraded paid account, but you have to turn them on in your settings. So if you don't see them, they're not turned on. That's why, okay? So we're gonna do something really quick so you can kind of experience what this looks like, because you're gonna wanna experience it so your students can experience it. So I'm gonna do a mini think, pair, share with you. So I'm gonna have you think about a question silently, independently, do all that, okay? And then I am going to, I'll tell you the question in a second. Then I'm gonna randomly put you in rooms, and you're gonna share your thoughts, and your partner's gonna share your thoughts. And then I'm gonna go into rooms and listen in, and then I'm gonna bring you all back. And I'm gonna cold call on one of you to share your partner's response, okay? So put in the chat right now, why will I cold call on you? Why would I cold call and not just ask for volunteers? Put it in the chat as to why you think that is. I'm interested to see if you can think about my thinking. Yeah, Elena, paying attention, engagement. Yes, to make sure they're all paying attention. Remember, you are teaching online. Now, this is true when you're in the regular classroom too, but you are teaching online. Yes, Amy. And you have to be, these kids are going to go into breakout rooms. You need to make sure that they're engaged. So I am telling them to share their partner's response, because they could go in there and not share. I could cold call them, they just share their own answer, right? But you want to give them something to do while they're in there. And then by telling them beforehand that you're going to cold call them, they all have to be ready to answer, okay? So we are going to do this right now. I just want you to experience what this is like. So I'm clicking breakout rooms, and I can see that. So I learned my lesson again the hard way. When I did 2 people to a room, some people didn't show up in their rooms, and then the other person had nobody to talk to. So I'm going to do like 4 or 5 people to a room, and I'll break you up that way. I'm automatically randomly putting you together. Like I said, I could manually put you together. So if Katie was my co-teacher and I want Katie in a certain group with certain kids, I can make that happen. So now I'm going to click create breakout rooms, but because you can't unmute yourself, in a second, we're going to unmute you. My trusty co-teacher is going to unmute you, and then I'm going to open the rooms. When I open the rooms, you're going to get a pop-up. Make sure you click join room. I want you to experience what your students are going to experience so you can have very clear directions for them, okay? The question that you're going to be answering is, what about online learning makes you excited? And what about online learning makes you nervous? And I'm going to bop into rooms, and I'm going to do a little broadcast so you can see what that's like. Okay. Go join your rooms. Are you all muted? Can we not mute you? Unmute all. Okay, I just unmuted you. So now you should be able to mute.
Okay.
You should be able to mute yourself too when you need to.
Okay.
Are you on?
Is there just 4 of us? 4? Okay. So I'll go first, I guess, if that's okay. I get nervous about the online teaching because I'm not super tech savvy. This is all new to me, so it makes me a little apprehensive, but I am learning a lot and having fun with it. I know the kids are excited about it, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but what about you guys, Amy?
Yeah, hi.
I have been, so I teach juniors and seniors. I teach early childhood education at a career tech center. And we have actually been e-learning since back in March, actually. So we've been doing this for about 3 weeks now. And we went to school one day and the next day we never came back, and we were told to start teaching with no direction. The thing I'm having the most issue with right now is
I'm nervous about that too. I'm a school psychologist, so I don't teach, but I'm nervous about starting a parent support group and maybe nobody's showing up.
Yeah.
Okay, I kicked you all out. You're coming back. I know some people just got kicked right out of their conversations. I am sorry about that, but I just really wanted you to experience what it was like. So I hope that was helpful. People are going to start coming back. So they get 60 seconds to come back. You probably saw that, and then they'll start kind of coming in. So we'll wait a second or so for them. They'll start moving their way back. Here they come. Everybody's coming back. Did you guys get stopped like mid-sentence? Sam? Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. That's what happens sometimes. But you got to see my broadcast message. You got to see how simple it was, right? To be able to navigate through. We had a pre-K teacher be able to do this with her kids. And they did show and tell, and then they went into groups. So it's very, very cool what's possible. All right, should I cold call on somebody? You guys can tell me what you talked about? I think I should. Let's do that. Okay, so I would love for you guys to share. How about Katrina? I love your background. How about you share what you guys talked about?
Okay, one thing we talked about was that this is a great opportunity to connect with students and to see your students and make them feel normal again. But if you're not in a district where people have great access to internet or they don't have computers, then it's difficult too. And so that you've got to try and figure out how to reach the students anyway.
Totally, Katrina. So most of my work is in typically disenfranchised communities. And so this is at the top of my heart and my brain. But I also know like we have to do what's best, what we can with what we have. That's why I told you about recording your lessons on your own. Make your own Khan Academy, right? Send those to the kids because a lot of times they can access like a website or access a video, a YouTube video. A lot of them can watch YouTube videos. So think about being creative around this. I just want you to know as much as you can. But yes, I mean, this is like equity in so many ways, equity issues. And I think the Facebook and the Khan Academies and the Googles should have internet. We should have internet in every single household, right? especially right now. I love Miss Duncan. Is that your last name? And is that your classroom behind you? Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, let's keep moving. You guys, 10 pounds, 5-pound bag, but we are almost done, I promise. But I have a couple of some other cool things to kind of share with you. So I want you to be thinking about formative assessment. So it's not enough to teach. It's also around the fact that, like I said, a lot of my kids right now are getting a lot of assignments and they're teaching themselves. It's not a lie when we talk about how parents are homeschooling their kids right now, right? Because they're actually having to teach them the assignments. So this is such an opportunity for us to teach kids, not just give assignments, but we need to make sure they're learning. So if you put a destination you've never been before in a GPS and you just set it and you never look at it to see if you're in the right direction, if you're going in the right direction, you're gonna get lost. You're gonna end up at the wrong place. And so I look at formative assessments like that. This is not just about online learning, you guys. This is about learning in general. Remember I said 100% of kids are learning 100% of the time. If you aren't checking every day to make sure your kids are learning what it is that you're teaching, then you're not going to get to the destination you want to get to, okay? Just like your doctor constantly checking to see your progress. So we want to make sure every day in our lessons we have formative assessments. So a couple ideas. One is a stop and jot. I do this in the classroom with like Post-it notes or even whiteboards that they hold up, but you can do this in the chat. You can just ask a couple of really quick check for understanding questions and then see if they're getting what you're teaching, what you're talking about. And then if you have a couple kids that aren't getting it, you could send them a little response privately so you can just kind of give them the little answer there and then make a note of it to put them maybe in a group later. This is data-driven decision making. You don't need standardized tests to be able to tell you if kids are learning or not, okay? Hand signals. I love this one. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because that's when I can see most of you. And I'm going to do one with you. This is for me. Formative assessments, let's be clear, for me to make sure that I am teaching you what you need to learn, right? So I'm going to do a quick formative assessment with hand signals for you. So here, we're going to do true, false. True, you're going to put your hands up like a goalpost. False, you're going to give a big X, okay? So true, false. You ready? Lionel's ready. I can see it. All right. Zoom, true or false? Zoom allows you to put students into groups. Now keep them up because I got 2 pages of you. True or false? Do you guys see that? In literally less than 5 seconds, I could see that all of you learned, right? All of you knew that. That's awesome. True or false? Zoom requires each student to have their own login. Hold them up. True or false? Not sure. We're not sure. Oh my gosh, I love this. I saw a couple of you like, I'm not totally sure. If I was your teacher, I just would have probably noted your names down and been like, okay, where were you like not totally sure of? That is quick data-driven decision making. Come on, that's awesome, right? All right. So as we keep moving, let's talk about cold calling really quick. I told you I was going to cold call you in the Think, Pair, Share. It's a great way for engagement, but it is not a gotcha. I coach teachers. I cue them in real time sometimes, and I'm like, no, not a gotcha. If a kid's not paying attention, you don't call on them so that they're then embarrassed that they weren't paying attention, right? It's not a classroom management technique, but it is accountability, and it is a way for you to check to see if kids are learning. So you do want to tell them why you're cold calling them and make sure they know it's not a gotcha. You just want to see who's learning. And let's say you ask a question. Make sure you don't say their name first before you ask the question. You always say the question and then the name, okay? Because otherwise, if I said, Alicia, what's the color of the sky? Then the rest of you know I'm gonna call on Alicia and you don't have to think, right? So I'm gonna ask the question first. But let's say I ask Alicia what the color of the sky is and Alicia doesn't know. Then my response is, that's okay that you don't know. But it's not okay not to learn. So we're going to learn this. And then maybe I'll go to Katie and be like, Katie, what's the color of the sky? And let's say Katie doesn't know. Well, then that's good data for me to be like, okay, kids aren't seemingly getting this right now. Just a quick check on that. But let's say Katie gets it right. I go back to Alicia. And then I say, Alicia, what's the color of the sky? I unmute her. She says blue. I go, great job. You learned today. Awesome. And anybody else that didn't know the answer, they now know it as well. But what we need to do is make it kind of fun for the kids. So I love this for random calling, wheelofnames.com. You can put your students' names on here and then spin the wheel, share your screen so they can see it. And then when their name pops up, It goes, yay. And the cool thing is, even though this is just a website, every time you go to it, it remembers the names. So you don't have to enter them in every time. But I always copy and paste it and put it like on a little note document just in case, you know, it deletes. So I don't have to keep retyping all my kids' names. So that's fun to do. Okay, I am almost done, but this is, to me, this is like the most, this is just a really creative way to use technology. So one of the things that I am struggling with when I see online learning is writing, because I believe in writing across the curriculum and writer's workshop. And if we can't do that, then kids aren't going to learn how to write really well, because just sending them off to write and then you editing them is not the engaged, guided learning process that we know is possible all the way through 12th grade. So if you were going to have kids, we have a time for them to write independently. We can use Google Docs in a really creative way. So again, I know most of you know Google Docs, so stay with me. This is going to be fast, so watch it back if you need to. Let's pretend you have 15 kids in your class. You open 15 different Google Docs. You put their name on each one. Each Google Doc has its own URL, right? Its own link, its own website, its own, web link. Then you open up a 16th Google Doc and you put all their names on it and their link for their Google Doc next to their name. You share that Google Doc in the chat. They open it up, they click on their link. Now you have all 15 Google Docs open on your screen. They start writing, you have your prompt or whatever it is. Now you can toggle between all 15 and literally watch them write in real time. You can make comments, you can add stuff to it, but this is like an amazing opportunity for you to like look over their shoulders in a way that you could never do in the regular classroom. Imagine doing this in the regular classroom. If all of your kids had devices, you could do this in the regular classroom once you come back. But also, you could then put them all in their own breakout rooms and then go jump in and do one-on-one conferencing with them if you wanted to. And still be watching the rest of them writing while you're in a conference with somebody else. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's wild to be able to do that. So that was just sort of an idea that you can use now or use in your classroom later, but it's a very cool way to do that. All right. Last piece of formative assessment are exit tickets. So I always coach my teachers to use exit tickets. We do nows and exit tickets. But for now, I'm just going to talk to you about exit tickets. I have an article that I wrote about it a couple of years ago. Katie will put it in the chat. We'll also send it to you so you can get just more information about the strategy. But this is for you to know that you got to your destination, right? You plugged in your GPS address. This is to know you got there. So make sure every single time you are checking to make sure at the end of class that kids got the objective that you wanted them to get. They should be learning after every unit, lesson, class, whatever it is. But every day we do exit tickets. So it's to get a sense of what they learned. So you can use the chat. You could hold up a paper, have them hold up a paper. You could use breakout rooms for little kids. You can go into little breakout rooms and have them do a verbal exit ticket, but figure out a way to make sure that they learned that day. Okay. So I talked about ways that we can support you. So inevitably, you're going to take this information, you're going to start to try things out, and you're going to have questions, but also, our belief in our community that we really want to be impacting are teachers that are like-minded, that are thinking creatively, that want to do the best for their kids. So we have this group, Facebook group that we just started this late last week, really, with people that have been in our trainings. So this is a great opportunity to get questions answered. But I've been going in live. I'm a consultant now, so I have a little bit of time. I've been going in live and doing mini trainings on all sorts of things, not just Zoom, but tomorrow I'm doing one on classroom management. Last week I did one on digging deeper into think, pair, share. But we're also answering questions around some of the other online learning stuff that you guys are dealing with. So it's called Classroom Crusaders. Katie's going to put a link in. There are questions you have to answer when you join the group. We want to make sure everybody in there are like the people we want in there, right? Like that they're just not randoms. So you have to answer the question. So if you don't answer the questions, you get stuck in there like these poor people can't get in. So we also have an Instagram page. This is where we put most of our like announcements, the things that like updated trainings or, just we've been putting Zoom tips up there as we've been learning them or have been kind of getting your questions. So our Instagram page is a great one to follow as well. So I hope that you'll do that because we'd love to stay in touch with you. We also have our website. Katie will put that in there. So make sure that you're kind of like staying plugged in with us. We would love to continue to support you. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. So back about, it was like 7 years ago or so, this guy, Martin Seligman, he's a psychologist. He wrote a book called Learned Optimism. And what he kind of made us realize as teachers at the time was, oh my gosh, character strengths like optimism and grit, perseverance, the concept of growth mindset by Carol Dweck, all of that stuff started coming out that we can teach it. It's not just something you're born with or something you're raised to be able to have. You could learn optimism. We could learn curiosity. We can teach it to our kids. So I used to do these workshops all around the country teaching teachers the fact that we can teach our kids this. The crazy thing is it was new. We didn't know how to teach our kids this. We just knew we could. And so a bunch of teachers were like, but we don't know how. There was no curriculum. There was no policy. There was no information. And this is what he said. He said, if you care enough about something, you will figure out how to make it work. And like I said before, you guys, I know we've all been dealt a whole lot of lemons. And this is really hard. I had a teacher text me recently that she's learned more in 7 days than she had in 10 years of teaching. And I think that's true for all of us right now with every aspect of life. But at the end of the day, if you care enough about your kids learning, if you care enough, I mean, we most likely, many of us aren't going back to school until August. Our kids need to have us. We are really, I mean, you guys really, truly are part of the front lines. And so if you care enough about this, you're going to figure out how to make it work. We will be there for you. But what I want to know is how you are going to make lemonade. What's the recipe that you're going to have? Because you might make strawberry lemonade and someone else will make raspberry lemonade. But we have a chance here, you guys, to change the face of education the way we know it. Because let's be honest, our classrooms look the same as they did in the 1950s. They don't look that different. But we have been thrown into something we didn't want, but we have the opportunity to make something we never realized we could because we are the leaders here. Like I said to you, nobody knows what they're doing. So we have the opportunity to do some amazing things. I want to know what your recipes are going to be. That's part of the reason I have that Facebook group. I want you to share it because when you share it, one idea prompts another idea, which prompts another idea. And that is going to mean amazing things for our students. So go make lemonade, share how you're making it, join our Facebook group. We're very, very honored and privileged that you are part of this, that we were able to have a voice in your life during this time. And if we can help in any way, we certainly want to. So thank you guys so, so, so much. And I hope that this was helpful for you. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes because in case you have more questions, Katie and I can answer them for you directly, or we can figure out the answers later if we don't know them. You're welcome, Kathy and Christina. Katrina, thank you. I'm glad you were here. Will the recorded session allow us to see the chat post? Carrie, that is a really good question. No, the way that I set it up is not. When you record to the cloud, you can, but I have the chat. So Katie, I will send you the link for the chat, Katie, and we will put it, you know what I'll do, Carrie? I will put it, so I'm uploading to YouTube. I will put the link for the chat in the description of the video, in the YouTube video.
Carrie, we also include all of the links and questions in the resources that we send.
Yeah, I just don't know, because some of the ideas that were shared, they might want to know. Carrie, that might be what you want. Unless you wanted, if you want it for the resources, we will have every single resource for you in a Google Doc. So let me know, Carrie, what you want. So you guys, we have one more training tomorrow. So if you want to share it, you've got to share it. And we made it much smaller than the 500 that we've been doing over the last 13 sessions because it's really easier to do it with less people. So if you know people that should do that, send them the link now. We also are doing a principal training on Wednesday night. We've been hearing from a lot of principals. They don't know how to lead a virtual staff, and they want to make sure they keep the culture and the morale up and have teachers feel supported. So it's not a Zoom training, but it is a training on how to effectively lead when you don't have a building. And so one of my amazing colleagues, William, is doing this with me on Wednesday night. So the principal one is awesome. So if you know of any leaders, or if you are a leader, we would love to see you Wednesday night. We are only doing one of them. Is there a way to share your recorded lesson while not sharing any students' faces or permanent products? You would have to, no, student faces would be shared if their video's on. But actually, I think that there's a setting. There is a setting, Carrie, in the Zoom. So you can look, there's various ways that you can record. So check that out. I was just noticing that the other day. I think yesterday I noticed it because it wasn't there before, but they have a bunch of new upgraded things. So that is, I think, definitely a possibility now. All right, I think that's everything. I'm glad you guys, Cynthia, that's okay. I'm glad you were here. Awesome. All right, Katie, I think, oh, here's what's cool, you guys. Think about transitions. Like, transitions are so fast, right? I pulled you in from the breakout rooms. You can leave the meeting, or I can hit end meeting and then I kick y'all out. Like, I just kick you out of my classroom. Can't do that normally, right? All right, if you have anything else, let us know. You will get an email from us in an hour. If you do not get the email, go to our website, because there's been firewalls with emails. Go to our website and enter in your email address, and then you will be brought to a page where you can access the recording and all the resources. So look for the email in 1 hour. All right? I'm kicking y'all out now. Bye.